All right. Yeah, live.
Hi, all right, thanks everybody for joining us. Welcome to the April meeting of the Millbrook Valley Trails Advisory Committee. Let's start with the minutes of our previous meeting held March 27th, 2023. Thank you for putting the meeting minutes in the back of the agenda.
Sorry, through you, Chair, if we could start with the call to order
Oh, I'm sorry.
for our 6 p.m. Thank you.
All right, sorry. Call to order. And approval of the agenda, item number 2. Do you want to talk about
Just with the
the
addition.
the addition? Yeah.
Thank you. So we will be looking for an addition of item 6.4, a committee resignation, please. So, well,
Can I have a motion to approve that? Dave, seconded by Kurt, all in favor? Great. Now, do we need a separate motion to approve the overall agenda? Or- No, that's good.
Agenda is amended.
Okay, great. All right, we're now in a closed session, but we're live on YouTube.
no closed session.
No closed session, okay. We need to have that on the agenda then. Yeah,
Just a placeholder.
Just a placeholder.
okay, great. All right, the minutes. So again, minutes of our meeting held March 27th. And then to the attach that to the agenda here today. Does anybody have any comments, edits, concerns? Basically said I was there, but I just wasn't there. That's what I said.
I apologize.
Yeah, no worries. All right.
So we'll amend the minutes to remove Mr. Wall.
Gary Wallace was absent. Okay. Any other amendments, concerns? No, great. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes for the meeting held March 27th? Kurt, seconded by Gary, all in favor? Wonderful. Okay, great. Let's moving on to 6.1 financial report.
Financials, they have not changed since last meeting. We do have an invoice that hasn't been processed yet for $386.61 that will be coming out of materials and supplies.
Okay, and that was purchases for the workday that we can talk about when we get to 7.2. Okay, so no update other than that invoice. Anybody have any other invoices to come in? Not yet. Okay, I assume there'll be some we can talk about on workday. All right. No other questions about the financial report? Great. Motion to approve the financial report. Marine, seconded by Kirk. All in favor? Great, thank you. Okay, org update, Ms. Carter.
Thank you very much through you, Chair. The tree seedlings pickup is Thursday and Friday, and John Follis is going to pick up the Millbrook Valley Trails ones.
Actually, I am.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, we just have to switch it.
Okay.
And it's 4 p.m.
I believe so. We can confirm that, and if you needed to modify that.
Oh, can I do, what are the available times?
I'll follow up with you tomorrow by email. We can
Okay.
sort that out with my
If I
guy.
could do it earlier, it'd be better.
Okay.
But it's no big deal.
Okay, yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
And I just wanted to thank Chris for following up and sorting out all of those signs.
And they have all been removed now. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And then just if we're discussing any trail construction or modifications or bridges throughout the agenda, then I can give our sign review and permitting staff a heads up about any permits and approvals that might be required.
Okay,
That's it for me.
great. Any questions, comments? Motion to approve or to accept the update from Orca. Dave, seconded by Kurt, all in favor? Thank you very much. All right, 6.3 trail report for this month. Who would like to go first? Gary or David?
Yes, I'll go first. Hang on, dealing with the parts closer too. Yeah, starting with Station Trail, overall looking very good, not too muddy at all. Couple of uprooted trees, which I sent some pictures of to the group, which you can have a look at in your own time if you haven't yet. Again, not looking too dangerous, like they're gonna fall, they're not hanging, they're not suspended. But just wanted to run those photos by you guys if you feel that it should be taken care of with the upcoming work day.
Yeah, let's discuss that maybe now.
Yeah, because like one thing's gonna flow into another there.
Yeah, so Chris, did you get a chance to look at them?
I have not yet, no.
Okay. So there's a big one, that's sort of uprooted. Yeah. that one.
Yeah,
And station.
that station, yeah.
So it's obviously not on the trail, but I'm wondering from a township perspective, if you feel that poses a hazard. I mean, my thought is that if you cut it, it'll flip back in place, right? If you cut it.
Is there a backyard there?
So is this
No.
Brook, yeah, is this Brookside backyards on this side of it?
There's no backyards there. The house is finished maybe 40, 50 feet further back from there.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
a wooded area and everything's very leaning on other trees.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have a look at it.
So we're planning on sending everyone out to take a look at all the trails this spring, so
Okay.
we'll have to take a look at them.
Do you need our assistance with that?
I think we'll have a look at it first and then
Get
we'll
back
see
to
where
you.
we go from
Okay.
there, yeah.
yeah.
That
I think a
one's
lot of this
quite
will be
close.
township staff. these
Yeah.
ones.
That's
Yeah.
very close to the Tupper
Yeah.
entrance.
Tupper
the
entrance,
easy
yeah.
walk.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's obviously leaning the other way, but I'm just wondering if that's,
Yeah, and then just a little hole that leads to obviously. Yeah, further west down the trails, just going west down the trails, as you pass the abandoned car, there's that next, the top two pictures there are again a tree leaning over the trails this time. Again, it's not suspended, but I guess we can deal with this one too. Yeah,
Okay.
oh, sorry, no, that's closer to the
first two pictures of the email.
first two pictures. Yeah. Yeah.
Good.
So that's it for big items there on Station Trail. But otherwise, Station Trail is looking pretty darn good. Getting into the Millbrook, again, just on top of the trees, the last picture that's on a portion of the trail that's still closed, at least the sign is still closed. Heading down to the new bridge, yeah, okay. And that one I think should definitely be taken care of sooner rather than later.
Yeah, because part of our purpose is wanting to reopen that trail as soon as possible. That's going to be a big focus of our work day, is to replace the boardwalk. That's the new bridge.
Yes. And then I didn't put pictures of anything else, but there's a few planks missing that need replacing on the lower winding boardwalk there on the lower end of the Metz Loop. A couple of exposed nails on the railing of the bridge, closer to the lower entrance of the Metz Loop again. 3 or 4 just kind of poking out, which would be a hazard for hand cuts perhaps. And then just as you step onto the new bridge, I'm thinking that those boards could do with replacing. Have you been down there recently? Yeah, they're quite spongy. And then once you cross the bridge, then there's a lot of work that needs to be done on the boardwalks there, quite a bit. On the areas that don't have any boardwalk, it's looking okay in terms of the wetness of the ground. I don't know if we are thinking about putting new boardwalks down in any of those areas. Has anyone else been down there? Yeah, yeah, kind of
I
like,
think it'll depend on how many people we have. I think the number one priority for our work day is to replace the broken ones, and then we can see about
go from there.
creating new ones.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but yeah, just the one part where I did attach a picture. There's 2 parts to that picture, Chris. I don't know if you can see it. That hanging one there, closer to the trail where it connects back to the fairground area. Yeah, I mean, there's the tree hanging over.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, and they're going to be quite muddy. It's never properly dry in that patch. So I don't know if we want to consider putting something down at some point there. One of those things where you could and you couldn't, you could make do without it. It's not a hazard, it's just always muddy and spongy in that part. And I think that's, and then onto the fairground trail section. At the entrance starting there's the missing dog waste bags. There's no pamphlets left there, and the dog waste bag holder is no longer there. I don't know if that's to be replaced, or if we're just.
So, yeah, it's part of our discussion tonight.
Sure, we'll go with that, that's there. Stairs, we know they need attention, and then the tree that's propped up along the side of the first little bridge. Well, part of the tree, well, it's not in the way, it's just there.
Yeah, we should cut it away.
Yeah.
Maybe we can do that, or the township can do that.
Okay.
And on the.
But the bridge itself is fine.
Yeah.
Solid.
On the first bridge on Lower Meds, there's a broken board,
Oh, understood.
just recently.
Mhm.
I'll try to get it before maybe the next couple of days and fix that.
Mhm.
On the point of the, boardwalk, broken boardwalk past the new bridge, 23 or 28 boards already there.
That's right,
Yeah.
I think it's
20 something. So there's a good chunk of wood already there. But prior to work day, I'll get some more wood from the shed and cut it up into 4-foot sections. So the pieces that are there are full 8-footers, so they'll need to be cut on site. But I can cut some pre-made 4-footers. It's a bit easier for people to carry out there too, for work day.
Did you get the boards that were out by where the Beaver Lodge was? Yeah. Okay, that's included in your count.
Yeah, and then the first pile was just near the end of the floating bridge there, so we had two
Yeah,
piles.
2 separate.
I think it is 23.
Yeah. And on the past the bridge, your note last, your comment on our last meeting, that the piece of bridge that was sort of left there.
Yeah.
Is it still there?
Yeah.
Okay, so did you talk to R&J Machine?
We haven't been able to look at it yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's something that we may need to,
Yeah, I mean, even if we just like drag it out and off the trail,
Oh, yeah.
sort of thing.
but it's a more than a one-person job.
Might have. to.
I would
It's
think
probably
so.
pretty heavy.
Yeah.
You
yeah.
put a call in for them though, didn't you? I thought you called them.
Yeah.
Okay. And that blue bin's still there?
No, I took it out in the fall.
Oh, you did, okay, great. I forgot to look. Okay. Dave, do you wanna, or any comments with Gary? I know there's sort of a lot to cover here that's also gonna sort of go into the workday stuff, but do you wanna?
You want me to just continue on with the trail report?
Sure.
Okay. Let me. So Gary kind of covered from the fairgrounds towards town and over to station. So going from the fairgrounds out towards Zion Line. It's not looking too bad. It's muddy towards the Zion Line end, but really not that muddy everywhere else. And the last newer stretch of boardwalk that we built, I think Matthew helped with it. It's really at the Zion Line, and it has about 8 boards that just got pulled off for some reason when the big machine came in. And they look like they just need to be reattached with new screws, but they're in like, there's the swath of 4 that are gone. So there's a big gap, and there's another 2 and another 2. So it should get fixed fairly quickly, but I think it will be easy for just whoever has the time to go out with a drill and some screws. But it's,
the wood that's there is okay,
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and nothing's broken. It just got pulled up somehow. And some hikers have probably like tried to place it, so you
Right.
could still get over it, but it was hazardous that way. So I just took everything off.
Okay.
So yeah, it's very muddy after that to Zion Line, just that last stretch, which always is at this time of year, probably for another month. And then I just noted that like we have done some leaf blowing in the fall, but I think the hill coming down from the fairgrounds got missed. And so probably I will just do that because it's of more consequence to on a mountain bike, I think, than for most hikers. Or not consequence, just nicer. So then Cedar and Grand Trunk, I didn't go all the way in on Grand Trunk. I just went in from the second pond to the area that's always muddy at this time of year, just to see how muddy it was, and it was very muddy. So it's getting wide. It happens every year. It's getting wider. It's full of footholds, and there's a bit of a shortcut that got created, I think, last year or the year before, that people go and take to get around the mud. So, I mean, that's one that we've tried to close in the past at this time of year and with limited success, but I think it would be, if we have signs or if we get signs, it would be worthwhile putting the, this trail is prone to damage and please stay off if you can. Signs on that one. It won't keep everyone off, but I think it would even, the mountain bikers are more likely to respect those signs, and I think the tire ruts going through there might be more problematic if we don't put up signs. So so if we have signs we can put up, or the club can put up signs, whatever works, but I do think we should discourage traffic on that one.
Okay, yeah, we're gonna talk about trail signage on 7.4.
All right, so then but it's otherwise clear, as far as I saw. I did go up, straight up from the second pond on that one, which also needs leaf blowing, but it's probably me that will do that. And then Cedar Trail is pretty good. Actually, there's a couple spots that were problematic a year or two ago that we put in big old pipe and managed to drain some springs away that are actually still working, which is great. It's really bad at either end. So at the rail bed end, there is what's called river rock, I guess, small rocks. So it's wet, but it's stable. Whereas at the other end, close to the first pond, where the steeper hill is, it's wet, but it's clay. And so it's a different experience there. It's more slippery, and some of the clay is washed down a little bit. So anyway, it's wet as well, and maybe one that's possibly worth closing. Although it's not as bad as the Grand Trunk one, where it's just low lying and wet and just saturated. Anyway, I think there'll be some repairs for one of us to do maybe once it dries out there, or just a little tidy up with the rake. Just where the washouts are. So by washout, I mean like the trail has this sort of visible channel that's a few inches deep down the middle where the rainwater would just flow down. It's not a deep trench, it's just erosion. Meadow Trail was all clear, sort of end to end, it's in good shape. The rail bed also was all clear and in good shape. And so Fire Route 3, I noted that there's signs of beaver activity, which I had noted in the past, a year or two ago, which seemed to die down. And then I couldn't tell if I was seeing new beaver stumps or if it was the old stuff. It was wet, so everything kind of looked fresh. But the water level a year or so ago was creeping up to be close to the Fire Route level, and whereas now I can't see any sign of that. So I don't think there's beaver activity down there right now, or I'm not convinced that there's beaver activity down there that's new, but it's something to keep an eye on, because we wouldn't want that road to get flooded. And then the other one so the tire rut, so the way Fire Route 3 is, the first half of it coming from Elgar is good, and then the last half is low lying and wet, and so there are prominent tire ruts through there. And the one, whichever side it is, I guess the north side sits a bit lower, so the one tire rut holds water, and then it eventually trickles down to the lower one. And then once or twice a year I come in and I just either cut a new or clear away an old channel to get that to just sort of drain out. And then most people that use that trail stay on the high ground between the two tire ruts, but you do get these puddles that form, and it's not ideal. So if I just continue on the same path of like clearing those channels and letting it drain, then that will continue to be a band-aid for that. But at some point, it would be very nice if that fire route could get just a little bit of gravel added, or just a little bit of grading done to it.
Is that right before are you thinking before the bridge, David, like in that lower area there? Okay,
Yeah.
I know where you're talking about.
Yeah, it's really that it's probably almost a kilometer leading into that bridge where it's low lying. Less than, but close to.
I would assume that that's not on any of the plans as of yet, in terms of adding new travel to that road. Or do we need to check with Mr. Hancock?
No, we don't have any plans for doing that, but we usually can try to do something like that. We do have some gravel that we could try to put in there, but because I think that was an area that John Follison, we got stuck in there before too. So yeah.
It's kind of a perennial issue.
Yeah. Okay, we'll look into it, Chris,
Yeah, I
about
think
getting
about
some
it,
gravel.
over there too, isn't there?
Well, they all got replaced.
We fixed that,
Yeah.
We fixed those
Yeah.
a few years ago.
but it is,
Pre-COVID, I think.
it's really wet in there too, right? It's like,
Yes.
so we can check and see if we can maybe make some arrangements to see if we have any additional gravel.
Okay, what about that? I haven't been to, since the snow melted to these areas, so if I want to follow up. On rail trail, there's no more sign of erosion over the bridge where we,
Not really.
it's okay, yeah, we don't need to address that.
It didn't look bad to me. I just took a peek as I was riding by, but just where the 6x6 is, it looked like it's just kind of washing around the end of it. But it's not, there's not, I wouldn't call it erosion. It just looks like it's drained away there a bit.
Okay,
Like nothing's going under the board
okay.
and the level seems to be good. So
And what about the last meeting, you said that your friend was gonna fix the bridge?
oh, that was Kirk, I think, that mentioned that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm bring back, and I haven't heard from him, so I don't know.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's still. Now, since then, another guy had mentioned that he'd be willing to fix it.
okay.
So it may just get fixed. It still hasn't been fixed, but
Oh, it still hasn't, okay, but it's not a safety.
everything's cleared off to the side now.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it just has the two posts that go up and then there was this,
yeah,
look like a bullhorn sort of thing. So
Exactly.
that broke. And so those pieces have been set aside. So everything's safe and clear.
yeah,
It's
great,
just, yeah.
okay. Okay,
Sorry, I don't know if that was, you had,
Can I
yeah,
just add on trail report? I was out on the trail ponds on the weekend and I was very happy to see that the Johnny on the spot was in place in time for trout opening. Trout opening was really well attended. A lot of the footprints that are now toward the rail bridge are from that day. It
right,
was rainy and everyone wants to see the rail bridge, and even if they aren't fishing there, which most people don't, they did put a lot of mucky footprints in there. I was able to thank the MNRNF crew for the work that they did on the ramp, which held up through that strange winter that we had, and for grading the driveway for us, because they did a good job and that also held up through the winter. I want to thank, I believe it would have been your crew, Chris, who did the cedar rail fence space that has been opened up. It's now closed. I saw them working on that day. And yeah, so a lot of the things that I had worried about last time, I'm always worried. Were addressed.
that's great. The, just getting back to 503, they're just two small cedars that could be pretty easily tackled with a handsaw. That I think it's from that heavy snow. They just got pinned down and now they've taken on a new shape. So they're one near the end by the bridge and the barbecue, and the other one's probably halfway. And I can maybe try to get those with a handsaw at some point on a ride. Ganny Transit was in good shape too. It's pretty clear. I'll probably try and get out with a leaf blower and just clear just the small sticks and stuff that fall over the winter, because most of the leaves were already gone from the fall. Though it's in good shape. And shingles. So recommending, I think it would be nice if we put shingles on that first bridge over the creek, the one that doesn't have the handrail. So getting onto Ganny Transit from Fire Route 3.
okay,
Just the bridge is flat. There's nothing to catch you, and I've heard of people sliding off the edge there.
yeah,
Probably with the being right over the creek too, it might form mildew a little faster. So actually in the past, we've someone through the club was out with a scrub brush and just scrubbing away the mildew, and that worked pretty well, but it's fairly labor intensive. So it would be nice to get some shingles on that if we have some.
okay.
I know we have that rural roofing.
Yep, yeah, it's in the shed.
Yeah.
I checked a couple weeks ago.
Okay,
Because we need to, part of what I want to put on the workday agenda too is more shingles on the boardwalk behind. Like my house, connecting to the library, from the park to the library.
Mhm.
That needs a few more shingles. Okay, so I'll put that on the list.
yeah, I don't know how the roofing roll will work out. When we had just like individual shingles, the dimensions of those worked out well for covering the span of two boards.
Mhm.
So it would end up, the shingle will break away in between the two boards, but as long as it's nailed on either side.
Yeah,
It's a nice size for that typical sort of 2x6s.
Right.
So I don't know if the rolled roofing will work out the same. I mean, I guess it would just be continuous and it'll break.
I think we've got both at the shed,
Oh, we have packages of shingles, do you think?
a couple,
Oh,
I
that'd be
think,
nice.
yeah.
Although we need some between the old school and the meadow at the Millbrook.
Yeah, I just said, yeah, so that's already on the list, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the challenge with Ganny Transit is just getting the shingles down there, because you really do need a vehicle
Yeah.
to take something like that down and,
Get some dry weather over the next couple of weeks, it'll be easier.
yeah. Someone does drive that route on occasion. I've actually seen a police officer down there more than once.
Really?
Just drives one of the police SUVs down there, yeah.
Well,
Just
you
to check
know,
on things, I guess.
well, actually, they are monitoring the Gani.
They are.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was one of the things that, I'll tell you about it later, but
Okay.
did come out of the meeting that I attended at the Anaraska Conservation Authority, is that all the adjacent municipalities are now contributing police officers and appropriate machinery that they can use to monitor the area.
Okay. Okay, well, I'll put that on the list, the shingles on that bridge. We'll
Yes,
see
please.
what kind of resources we have on one day. If not, maybe it's just something I could go down. But sure, pretty probably won't get down there if it wasn't too.
Let's get a leg cramp.
Okay, any other questions? I know we're gonna talk about, we're gonna expand on some of that for the workday discussion and the signage discussion. But any specific questions to Dave or Gary?
I just had a random question, does the new bridge have a name? Is it gonna get a name?
Yeah, we're gonna discuss that. We talked about commemoration and that sort of thing, so that's 7.5.
That's good.
Yeah. Okay, we have a motion to accept the show report from Gary and Dave. Kurt, seconded by Maureen. Thank you very much, gentlemen. So next month rather, it's myself and John Wallace. Okay, 6.4, resignation of committee member. Do you want to take us through that, Kurt?
Since posting of the agenda, we did receive a resignation from member Jillian DePetta. So we would like the committee to have a motion to accept Jillian's resignation from the Millbrook Valley Trail Committee, that staff send a letter of thanks, and that we request staff run another advertisement to fill the vacancy up to a maximum complement for the committee.
Yeah, do you want to explain the compliment?
The complement, so for the composition of Millbrook Valley Trails Committee, there is a minimum of 9 members appointed by council required. So currently we fall under that with Jillian's resignation. However, we do have up to 11 members allowed.
Okay, and so the township will be advertising for how many open positions? Just the one or?
The vacancies.
The
Just-
vacancies, yeah,
Okay,
you might get more than one.
yeah. Any questions, concerns? No, okay, so can I have a motion then to
That.
do that as Kurt said? So accept the resignation, send a letter of thanks. And I'm happy to sign that if you need me to, if not, fine. And then post the vacancies. Yeah, okay, Dave,
Yep.
seconded by
Mhm.
Maureen, all in favor? Wonderful. Okay.
Can I just ask a question on that?
Yeah.
So does that indicate that there were only 9 applicants when this committee formed? Like, are there other applicants that weren't accepted that could?
I have to remember, I can't remember offhand, I think
We would have
we-
accepted.
there was only 2
We were
committees
filled up
where
to the-
we had an additional, and even then it was because there was some complications in how one of the two of the applicants kind of submitted a generic one saying,
Okay.
hey, we're interested in committees. I'm like, okay, well, where's does that doesn't really mean
I
anything.
see.
So they only wanted to be on one, so then we had to make a decision as council for that.
So we can't, yeah, I guess you're saying we can't sort of go to people that weren't selected in open.
No.
Yeah. I was just mostly curious if there was, if there was the demand for more people, or if we need to encourage others to
Yeah. this time.
Encourage.
I would always
Yeah.
recommend encouraging. I was thinking about, I know, I was speaking with someone the other day who I think is interested, so I'm
Oh, great.
now that there's a vacancy, there's a place for her, so.
And certainly it's something we could discuss with volunteers on the night too.
Perfect
Yeah,
timing.
That would be good.
And is there a timeline for that?
So let us take it back. We will post as soon as.
We
possible.
usually wait to the Millbrook Valley or Millbrook Times, so I think
Next edition.
Maybe next week.
next week. So we'd have to get it in as soon as possible.
Okay,
We'll do our very best.
We'll do our
It'll be
best,
on
yeah.
our website as well.
okay, yeah, well, we can certainly talk it out with
Volunteers, yeah.
volunteers as well, yeah, certainly. Okay, great, thank you very much. Brings us to section 7, general business, 7.1, committee comments, Township of Cabot Parks and Recreation, Master Plan Vision 2035. Who's taking us through this?
You want to do it?
Yeah, sure. We do, we're updating the Parks and Master Plan from 2011 right now. It's Parks and Recreation Plan Vision 2035. Robert Lockhart and Rethink Group is conducting it. So we did, Robert did a survey last summer, which was put out to residents, and now they're putting out to committees. And so as part of this, there's 2 questions that we want the group to give their advice on. First question is parks and facilities. From the perspective of your committee, what are the 2 or 3 priorities for improved recreation facilities and parks within Cabot Monaghan? Existing and new. Question number 2 will be the Millbrook Arena. We would like you to discuss options for the future of the Millbrook Arena. As background, the household survey was administered last summer in support of the Parks and Recreation Plan. It asked residents for their opinion about 4 options for the future of the Millbrook Arena. In the upcoming community forum, May 10th, we will be asking about this again. To improve your discussion, we provided a 1-page overview of some of the technical data about the Millbrook Arena. Full reports are available for review on the township website. Option number 1, invest in the order of $5.25 million into the building and site to maintain the facility as status quo for another 25 years, to renovate it to meet accessibility requirements. This investment would only support winter season use that are similar to the current uses: soccer, lacrosse, cricket. Assuming current uses are maintained, the annual operating deficit will be in the order of $30,000 plus annual inflation. Option 2, invest considerably more than $5.25 million into the building and site, interior and exterior, to extend its life for 25 years and increase its functionality and appeal to support a few more uses. Possible uses will depend on how the interior might be able to be transformed. The intent would be to have a facility that could be utilized year-round. Even if well utilized year-round, there will likely be an annual operating deficit. Limited parking will continue to be a major shortcoming. Option 3, replace the building with high-quality downtown community park that may accommodate some combination of facilities such as a farmer's market, an outdoor stage or gazebo, pathways, gardens, trees, an area for quiet reflection, a picnic area, an outdoor exercise gym, a water play facility, an unstructured grass area, etc., with the proposed closure of the Needler's Lane. The park could be integrated into the surrounding parkland and facilities, Needler's Mill, the pond, and the Millbrook Valley Trail. Via walkways, it would be linked to the downtown. Option 4, sell the property and allow for a developer or business opportunity to invest in downtown. This could support a new revitalization plan and provide more commercial and housing development. So it's option 5, really. It's additional suggestions to assist with the Parks and Recreation Plan. If your committee has additional suggestions and committees about recreation needs and or the Millbrook Arena, please provide them below. So what we're looking for is the group to maybe answer the questions, give some suggestions on what they'd like to see in the future. in regard to parks and facilities and the old Millbrook Arena.
Okay, I have a number of questions, if that's okay. Number one is, you're obviously looking for a single cohesive response from the committee, not an individual, okay?
Well, hopefully the individual already commented on the survey
Yes,
information last year.
that's gonna be my follow-up question. What is the community forum on May 10th?
So the community forum is, there was a demand for more information, more input, more community input. So we're putting out a forum on May 10th to give people another chance to be able to review all the background information.
Like it over here? Yeah, okay, and that's here?
Mhm.
It is, yes.
Okay, great.
And it's, if I may, just to add to that, Mr. Chairman, this is a multi-year project, right? So it started last year and it goes in phases. And so you finish one phase and it kicks off and phase goes into the second phase, it kicks off and goes into the third phase. The first phase was just general information. And I think because of COVID, there wasn't any PICs where you can come and look at a public information kind of session. So what Robert did was just reach out, just, through social media outlets and not necessarily post a workshop in any way. So now that we've opened up, what council has asked us to do is just pause it for a moment and have a PIC. So you're giving a summary of everything that's taking place so far. So he'll touch on all the background information that's been done in the last year and through the phase one, and then ask if there's any more input or any further conversation that needs to be had and ask those questions. And so it's a workshop on May 10th. Okay, before any of the decisions are made. And the challenge, if I may, when you get into the background, you'll sort of see that to understand where do we go for the future, because we're talking, if I may, we're talking about the increase around 18,000 to takes us to 2051. So we're talking about a long-term plan, right? So what we're trying to do is say, here's what we currently have, understand what we currently have in phase one, understand what the potential needs are, understand what the demographic increases would be over till 2051, and just sort of ask for a little bit more input on that before council makes a decision. Because one of the key factors that we've identified back in 2019 is, what do we do with the Millbrook Arena? What's the future of the Millbrook Arena? So before council makes the final decision on that, which is at the end of phase one, because that might contribute what happens in the phase two component, what that facility might look like.
Right.
So we're just sort of pausing and giving you another opportunity.
Can I just check for reference, what is our current demographic population?
Oh,
Just over 10,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, current, yeah.
Okay, and for option one, I'm assuming that limited parking is a major shortcoming for option one as well as option two?
That would be correct.
Yes, okay. And am I correct in assuming that the survey that went out last year by Rethink, that 83% plus chose option three? Is that,
Option,
which is that part?
yes, that is correct.
Okay.
It's in the background study, actually. too.
Yeah, okay,
Yes.
just want to be sure. And
Yeah.
option four, just for clarification, my understanding from being involved in, say, the mill committee and the moving of the mill, et cetera, was that it was Orca's opinion and maybe the township's opinion that redevelopment of that land where the arena now sits wouldn't be prohibited because of the floodplain restrictions.
No, that's not
That's not
correct.
true.
No, you can develop, but you'd have to adhere to the conditions and requirements.
Okay.
So that's all that went through our planning process. So you can build on there, but how you build in respect to the floodplain has to be accounted for development in our downtown.
Thank you.
Meredith might have something more to add to that, but
I don't, because I don't work in that.
Oh,
area,
yeah.
But I could certainly get.
yeah,
Details.
so we have that identified in our planning documentation as well. There will be requirements that you would have to do a new build.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, those are my questions. Does anybody else have any questions before I assume you're looking for a vote today?
Sorry, through you, Mr. Chairman, just wanted to let you know the same questions we're trying to keep, not us, but Robert is trying to keep the same questions so that there's no influence in an outcome on these questions right now. So these questions are the same that was asked
In the survey.
in the survey.
Right.
I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you. Questions, comments from the committee?
I was always in favor of option 3. However, since they started offering indoor soccer and I have kids that are of that age and I live up the street, then the maintaining of the old arena at status quo level seems okay. But that's sort of on a selfish, this is easy for me parenting level. I do very much still like the idea of option 3. And I know that when the CMCC was being built, it sounded like that was the logical next step for the old arena. So I guess with the first 2 options, that $5.25 million is an upfront cost as opposed to being somehow
Most of the
paid
five,
over the
sorry.
25 years.
both of the $5.2 million costs are very early engineered estimates for what the total renovations or what at least the one total renovation was really the only, as it says in the second option, more than 5.2, because 5.2 was the engineering assessment of what the minimal amount of work would cost to do to get the building up to an operational standard, let's say.
Right.
And so that those costs would be bringing operational standard to code. Would that also include opening up the room above? Or is it just?
So
paying for
that engineering, I believe, was also done several years ago, when we all know, I think, are familiar with enough of the market fluctuations and things like that. So we're really hesitant. We wanted to put the number in there to give an explanation, because we had an engineer's report to make a suggestion. We have an educated person that said, this is what I think it's ballpark going to cost at a point in time, quote or estimate, right? So it's not a quote to do the work. It was just an engineer saying, based on my intelligence in the field and the market conditions, this is what I think you're looking at just to do the minimal stuff.
Right.
But like I said, is having been a part of some builds, everything changes month to month, year to year, and it wasn't a formal quote, so it wasn't getting someone with a crew to do the work. It was an engineer estimate. So that's why we included it, to give a ballpark understanding of what the fiscal commitment is going to be. Obviously, the CMC was $17+ million at the time. So just to put it in perspective of what sort of expectations could be. I mean, that building was originally constructed, I think, 72 years ago. And then there was an explosion 22 years after that. So there was a redevelopment after that fact. So it's seen its fair amount of sunlight.
Yeah.
And so that's just to put a bit of that perspective in play.
But so if it was 5.25 million or whatever the number is, that's we're going ahead with this project, we close the facility down, we invest this money into a 1 or 2 year project, and then we reopen the facility, and then we just deal with
It would be a significant project to redevelop the facility. I don't even want to guess. I would assume at least 1 winter season would be compromised at the work, but it's more than likely potentially 2, I would say.
But that's an upfront estimate, right? It's not like it's 1 million.
It's not a
year
quote.
and then-
No. That's just a very initial and now somewhat dated engineer suggesting this is what, in his opinion, again, not a tradesperson, an engineer saying, you can probably do, this is the estimated
Just
value of
bring
the
it
amount of
to
work to
code.
be done.
It's
to get
just-
it sold.
It's just the basic work needs to be done. We have, if I may, Mr. Chairman, we have recently carried out an update on the BBA report. We've also hired KBM just recently, which will be identified as well with the documentation that we've received from KBM about some of the works and that need to be done in that facility as well.
It's not a shrinking list.
I think our intention in our reports, and I don't know if everyone's been following the reports, but we have been putting the reports before council. Our intention, as long as it's the health and safety of the facility is kept up right now, we would continue to operate it. As each year, council has the discretion to whether or not they want to continue with it, because it is operating. Our revenues are really low for it, but at the same time, it's a facility that's, you mentioned your kids utilize right now, but if there was another facility, it might be something different, right? So right now, we're trying our best, but Chris can add to it. We just received another report, and we're taking another report to council, giving you a little bit more background information on this. And that report is going for the May 1st meeting.
So that information will be available for the forum and maintain.
It will.
Great.
Yes, it will.
It's probably a good way to put it, to suggest that the 5.2 is really structural. right? It's a structural investment. This isn't a redevelopment. This is the structural investment that's required. And then anything, so we're not changing much.
It's just
other than
as
what's
is.
required.
And so from a planning perspective, if it was to be redeveloped, would the current parking be grandfathered in? Because my understanding is the building doesn't meet current parking standards in terms of the number of spaces provided for the square footage of the facility.
It would just be as is,
It would be essence.
as is. The footprint would not change.
So redevelopment would not include additional parking spaces.
And in terms of the land that's there, it's really just, it's the building itself and then just the parking, and that's really it. There's not any.
There's green space in behind it.
Oh, that's.
Yeah.
It's Little Creek. Yeah, there's a little,
Creek Park.
yeah.
In between it and the Legion.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, it's very tight back there.
Used to be a playground, didn't it?
We did have a playground. Mhm. But if you can see the erosion from Little Creek, it's actually, I can't even believe we used to have a playground back there, actually. It was, do you remember that, Meredith? We're really dating ourselves back then, but we had a little playground back there. It was very small and there was a lot more land, space area behind there. But now with Little Creek, there's hardly anything there.
How big is the property? You know, like would it be more than an acre?
I can't remember it offhand.
I'm just trying to think if it was converted to green space, how big is that green space? Like,
I don't think, was there in there?
Well, I think that it depends on what you consider the green space along, because the square footage, it's just, what is the dimensions on the path,
The
Chris?
pad
60.
is 175 by 69.5, I believe, somewhere around there.
So the footprint isn't much in exceeding that, obviously, and again, it is a roadway and parking assessment as well. So, I mean, to me, I think the concern, I know that one of the options being discussed was the complete parkette. I think I had concerns about that from emergency services. That road, leaves us with one corridor of, Main Street to go and get around, and taking that corridor away is a significant factor, considering we have, events with road closures and things of that nature that now there's no way
It's
to
not.
go around.
I wonder if it's in this section.
Well, there's two, but it's the other one is not a public road, it's owned by.
So
Okay.
it's good, and that's just a general concern. And I haven't been told it's an issue or how that would work, but like I said, you literally have, and don't forget question one, by the way, that's the only other thing, because I think that's important as well for the group to have, discussion in, but yeah. For this, I mean, it's just if there is a specific position that the Valley Trails would like to take in regards to the options before you or something completely different, then
And so is the township looking for a response tonight to these two questions?
well, it'd be probably good if you submit them. Yeah, I'm not sure what the intake is to get to Robert. It's in here somewhere.
We need a committee. What we're looking for, if I may, is a committee response to question 1 and question 2.
Tonight.
I guess
Fell to Robert.
you can name, but it has to be a committee, so the committee would have to vote on
Yeah,
it.
you-
So you couldn't make a decision on that tonight unless you regrouped yourselves and then came back, like gave yourselves a little bit of time, had a meeting and then sent your comments back. Which you could do if you wish.
You're saying you couldn't do it tonight?
Well, unless, if you have all the answers tonight that you have for 1 and 2, then absolutely, of course. If you'd like a little more time, by all means, you could call another meeting and discuss what that is, and we're just looking for your responses by the end of May.
Okay, what do people think?
Would there be an issue with us doing it kind of offline or online, actually?
Well, you need a motion, you need a committee motion to be able to do that.
Okay, we need a motion.
Yeah.
But we could sort of organize ourselves by email and things. Up to you.
Well, yeah, I mean, if it's not till the end of May that it's actually needed, then if we could have an email discussion about it and then.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Then it's there to vote on it.
You'd have to have our clerk present, though. You can't vote on something without your
Yeah,
clerk.
it has
Oh,
to be.
you want to bring it back
Going
to, bring it back to committee meeting. Oh, I understand completely. Absolutely, yes, absolutely.
Is within that.
Ideally, what you could do is Robert as the chair could receive all the correspondence and you could have it in like a more of a formal report, and then you could discuss it at that meeting and then make your motion.
We don't need anything until the motion from the committee.
No, that's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
but like if
You
Rob-
guys
if
can
Rob- if
discuss
you
it
guys
amongst
want to have
yourselves.
discussions or submit comments and then have a formal discussion for next meeting, you can do it, but then you would make a motion of the formal
Yeah.
MVT submission.
By though, hang on.
That's what I'm just checking the dates for a minute.
So our intention is that we will be reporting, let me just double check that, I'm sorry.
The dates.
Yeah, so we'll be reporting back to council on June 5th.
Yeah.
That means we would need your information probably by the 22nd at the very latest, Robert would. Because he has to do a report and report to council on the 5th, and the 29th, our reports are due. So I would say you have potentially to the 22nd.
So we can't deal with it at the next meeting.
No,
The next meeting is the 29th.
that's right.
Unless you change the meeting date, yeah.
So the two options for you would be to move your May meeting date up, or you can call a special meeting to discuss these comments.
22nd is that the night before?
It is indeed.
Thoughts?
I don't see it being a long discussion amongst us, just giving us some time. So keeping with Kirk's idea, if we move it forward to whatever that is, the 15th of May or so, are people comfortable with?
To move the main meeting or to just have like an internal team meeting with the clerk present?
Yeah, I was wondering about a Zoom meeting.
Yeah.
It would still be a public meeting,
Yeah,
just so we're
that's-
clear. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a special meeting. And
That's
that can be, yeah, that's all.
But just,
Yeah,
so we're missing, I mean, I'm assuming we're not gonna have our new member by then.
No.
So we're really only missing John today, not just only, but I would assume John would have some opinions on this. So I don't get a vote, but my comment would be I'd be hesitant to submit comments without Mr. Dahl's present. Though I sort of gather we're probably all in the same wavelength, generally speaking, but yeah, I think it warrants further discussion. But again, I don't get a vote, so if you guys want to make a motion to that. What do you think, Maria?
Carly, can you make yourself available May 15th if we decide to do
Either
Uh,
Carly or myself will.
Yeah,
I make a motion then to have an offline discussion, email discussion with everyone around this and have a special meeting on Zoom with whoever's present on May 15th, whatever time works for.
so we do have a council meeting that day from 1 o'clock till usually about 4 o'clock.
Okay.
So we could keep with our regular or timing.
And it would be a Zoom meeting.
It'd be
if-
Zoom.
Okay.
And then just looking, a separate meeting, do you still want to keep your May 29th meeting?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, okay, so.
So it'll be a special meeting.
Absolutely.
Okay, we can do
Okay.
that.
So if that's the committee's motion then to call a special meeting on May 15th at 4 o'clock or 4:30, let me know. I'm here regardless.
No, just before 30, just because it sounds like
4:30.
it might cut it a
Okay.
bit close for you otherwise.
Yeah.
And I can do it if you're
Perfect.
available.
4:30 PM on May 15th, and then we'll continue with our regular May 29th meeting.
Great.
So
Okay.
you will
Kurt-
have to do a move right.
Yeah, so Kurt's the first mover, Secretary Gary, all in favor of that? Thanks. Okay,
And
thank you very
Mr.
much.
Chairman, may I just suggest the background study, if I may, will really give you a lot of background information on what's been done so far. So it might help you in your discussions.
That's on
So it's on mine,
And that, yeah, that's.
if I just remind you for that.
That's so is it,
can you send that link, Carly, to the,
was there a
They
link
have.
on
it's already been provided, then good.
The links on what Robert has provided you.
Any questions?
Page 8. of the agenda, or
No, it's on the township website. No, it's not there, but it's on the township website, so I encourage you to see.
Yeah, so I would encourage all of you to do that background and do your research on this, and certainly to attend the forum on May 10th, because that will be prior to the meeting. But also encourage you to not just do this from a committee perspective, but also submit your comments and feelings in an individual perspective as well. For those of you that have done it before or want to do it again. I have a quick question just to wrap this up. This Parks and Recreation plan is an addendum to the official plan.
It's a separate plan,
It's a separate plan.
but it helps manage when we go into our official plan. It'll help guide us. It's like a tool. So it'll help guide us in our official plan development as well.
Okay, just sort of an aside, does the province have the ability to come in and make changes to this as they have with Peterborough counties?
To this
Our
plan?
official plan, yes.
No, to the Parks and Rec,
No.
no,
Just to be.
We have to submit the OP for provincial approval, just like
Not
that's
this,
what happened with the city,
not this
right?
plan.
They submitted it and the city said, no, here's the changes, no, not appealable.
Right.
So.
Okay.
Our OP needs to be submitted, but a lot of these smaller plans, niche plans, don't go to the province.
And they're part of the official one. Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Can I just ask, for question one, obviously it's very open-ended.
Mhm.
In the consultations that have already occurred, what kind of things were sort of on that list of responses there? Trying to give myself an idea.
they're all in here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's so much, I'd hate to honestly,
Right.
but there's a lot of information of what the findings have been thus far.
Mhm.
And so you'll be able to really take a look and see what the surveys and the comments, that the public have had.
But for example, like one of the things from being on the board or the committee previously, was like, for instance, the continuation or the continuing. Like, I've gotten a lot of positive comments about the new bridge, but obviously there's a lot more sensitive areas and bridge work that is in this state of repair that is probably a priority from a liability standpoint from the trail infrastructure. So that, like, to me, that's a priority that exists. It's within your existing infrastructure that we'd like to keep those trails open. But in their current state, we can't without significant investment far in excess of the $6,000 that the community gets in a year, right? So that to me is an example from a trail standpoint. Okay, the bridge is great. It was expensive. We put a lot of, we got the donation for it and then the township stepped up to fund the rest of it. But there's a lot more work that we done. And that's probably, I would think, at the top or at the higher end of the priorities to get that back to full usage, you know what I mean? Yeah.
And percentages have all been done as well, right? So it actually identifies what the top interests are and what the percentage of comments are. But it'll be a guiding tool for 2051. So it is a really important document. We've had our last one, as Chris alluded to, for many years, and a lot of those items that we outlined in the master plan actually came to fruition and we've developed them. So some we couldn't, but some we have. So it really is a guiding tool for the future.
So this is the comment here about the older population increasing, tripling by 2051. Does that refer to seniors or what is an older adult population referring to? Just adults?
Adult, like seniors. Yeah.
Seniors
Yeah,
specifically.
the demographics are all in here from Roberts as well. So it'll outline age, demographics, all of that is in this background. This is just sort of a synopsis of this background information.
Okay, thanks.
With regard to the portion of the township where the extra 8,000 are going to reside, what is the prospect for sort of passive and active use park space in those areas? How much of that land would be set aside for park?
So that is exactly what this will identify.
Mhm.
So it'll tell you if we're coming up short,
Mhm.
it'll tell you if new development should be allocating, more.
Mhm.
What type of development it should be, all of that's in there. So the end document will have a document that strives, that goes before council, and it'll say, we're looking for an additional, park development of such and such, or park recreation facilities of such and such, or natural areas,
Mhm.
it'll get right into all of that. And that's what the intent is.
And I think that's, Maureen, too, that's sort of what we could answer as part of question one, is that our intent to have Millbrook Valley Trails, interconnect to the new areas and things like that is some of our priorities. And am I right to assume that the Rethink group, was that the recent report that was released that said we're short on green space?
That's correct.
Okay, so that's in that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Any other questions or comments on that before we move on? Okay, great. So again, I encourage you to do your homework before the 15th so we can have a viable discussion on our Zoom call. Okay, 7.2 workday, May 6th. I've just looked up the long range forecast, and although it's a long way away still, it's calling for 13 degrees and sunny. So we hopefully that'll stay true. Reminder that our rain date is the next Saturday, which is the 14th. Yeah. So, sorry, 13. Couple of things, I've sent the poster to Kirk to make a few minor modifications on the date. Once we get that, Marian's generously offered to sort of distribute that to local businesses and things and put them up or along the trail and downtown as we have before. I can try and talk to the Lions Den, see if we can get it on the sign. We haven't been very successful with that in the last 4 or 5 years. I think they're kind of booked quite deep, but I can try and call the gentleman about that. And we'll get the word out with our distribution list by email too for volunteers and things.
What about the digital sign that faces Moody's in town?
Yeah, who, that's
Is that
privately.
still Colleen?
I would just say there would be a
Christine
cost
McCall?
associated with
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
It is available, I'm sure, but there is a cost.
Mhm.
Oh, there's.
I don't know what the cost is.
Okay,
Or they may do something different. I'm not sure.
well, it's worth a call. I can call.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's on the, it flashes on the sign every now and then, right? The number?
There's a number that's,
Okay, I can call that.
and we would need to know for social media what you would like us to put out on the social media as well, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah,
The
I'll
township
send
is
you a
happy to
digital
do.
copy of the poster.
Perfect,
that you can
yeah.
put out. So is that all, so on the social media side, that's all been resolved and,
We're happy to do your social media for you.
okay,
That is correct. Any information from the committee would like to hand off to us, we will send it to Bridget.
okay, great.
And does that include hoopla or should we do hoopla on our own?
We don't do hoopla. The township doesn't,
So if the township
It's what they
posted the workday flyer, you could share the
Share, we
township
could
post
share,
to
that's
Hoopla.
right,
You
that's right.
personally can share it.
you can share it. Yeah.
Fine.
Okay, Chris, I talked to you last week about a couple things, resources. Yeah. Is the township are we gonna have any resources from the township on that day?
I have got 2 staff for you.
Okay, great. And so they'll just meet us at the Distillery Street entrance as usual.
Yeah, if you can give me times, yeah.
9 AM, it's fine.
9 a.m.
Yeah. Mulch, can we get, in the days leading up to May 6th, can we get a couple deliveries of mulch to Lower Meds? By the willow tree,
Same location.
same location and behind the library. It's close to the bridge as you can get, sort of
Yeah.
right behind my back gate there.
See how close we can get here,
Yeah,
depending how soft the ground is.
yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good right now, but yeah, that can change in a couple of weeks. And obviously we don't need as much in behind the library as we do in
Lower
the
Meds.
lower Meds.
Yeah.
So as Chris mentioned, in the financial report 6.1, I've made some purchases at Home Building Center. They're at some are at the shed, some are at my house waiting to go. Got the 4x4s for the
Thank you.
for the bridge reconstruction or sort of rehabilitation on the boardwalk, connecting the library to the to Meds Mountain. Screws, just general sort of workday stuff, rebar, etc. Everything we need. So that'll all be ready. As I said, I'll have some. I'll get some wood taken from the shed. Some 8-footers, but I'll also cut out 4-foot pieces for some of our boardwalk repairs. We'll get the shingles out and all the tools, etc., as per usual in previous years. In terms of, I think we've got a good list here that I'll have ready for workday in terms of what we need to tackle. Obviously, as I said before, our main focus, I think, will be on repairing the boardwalk past the new bridge and boardwalk leading up to the bridge. Those minor repairs. Chris, have you and your team been able to look at the stairs?
We have not yet, no.
You have not, okay. Well, maybe you and I can, if you're able to do that in the next couple of weeks prior to. Maybe we can determine whether that's going to be strictly a township job or a hybrid, or if it's gonna be left to us, and then we can sort of make the determination again of how many people we will have workday. And if it's gonna be something that we might need to tackle on workday, then again, you and I can discuss potential materials delivery to at least the top of the hill at the fairgrounds.
Yeah, no problem.
Yes, right.
Perhaps you and I can connect to just make sure that we loop in our planning and reg staff to make sure any permits and approvals that might be required are taken care of in advance.
Yes.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
In terms of, it sort of talks about, some of the materials we need. At our last meeting, Lance made a suggestion to talk to Taylor Signs.
Taylor Taylor's over on 28.
Yeah, to replace our, doggy bag, boxes and our brochure boxes. So I'm not sure how many of you were on that, email, or maybe you just sent it to me, but I had sent him, he had asked for the dimensions, and he had gone out there and talked to them. And so, yeah, he dropped the letter holder to Taylor Recycled Plastics, and the owner Brooke said he could do them for us for $50 each. All you would need to know is how many we would need. This is a good price, as he's had to make these custom, and he's giving us a discount. So I've asked for, if they could maybe put together an example for us. And Lance has gone back to them and asked for that, but, obviously we don't have it here tonight. I'm not sure if he's got it. So I think, you know, in terms of, I don't think they'll be ready. I think obviously we'll need to see it as a committee and vote on it and things. But maybe I can throw together a few sort of temporary holders that we can put up on workday just in the interim. Because I know, as you said, there in your report, some of those are missing. But yeah, I don't think they'll obviously be ready for workday. I don't know, something where we've done over the summer and into the fall. I think we also need to talk about ordering more brochures. We can do that in terms of in signage and 7.4. Two other things I'd like to discuss. One is we will need a motion for expenditures for the barbecue, for food for the barbecue. I've sort of put together a draft budget just from being at Costco the last couple of weeks and looking at sort of what we usually get. You know, numbers and things. And then the other was in terms of equipment for not just workday, but for our committee as a whole. I noticed that Home Depot has a spring sale of the Milwaukee drill and driver on for $177, which is $130 cheaper than it usually is this week. We have as a committee, I think 3 sets already of a drill driver and all the sort of associated batteries and things, but I just thought I'd put that out there as a possible purchase for workday because it was a good price, but
Is that full battery or with batteries as well?
with batteries, but with the smaller batteries. But we've got lots of the bigger batteries between the township's collection and our collection, my collection. Anyway, I just thought I'd put that out there. So, because before we start bringing any motions, I know we talked a lot about sort of what needs to be done workday wise tonight, but are there any specific comments or anything else we need to specifically discuss tonight as part of workday?
Are we going ahead with trying to repair all that boardwalk?
Yeah, that's sort of going to be the #1 priority.
And you guys are okay with that? I thought there was maybe.
Do we need to go through any permitting for repairs of existing boardwalk, or should we have a list maybe, Robert, if you
We haven't had to do that in the past for existing boardwalk.
Yeah, a list of exactly what you're gonna do would be helpful though, and then I can certainly share it with our staff just to make sure.
Okay.
I thought at the last meeting, there was some indication that township was gonna start taking over some of those boardwalk repairs, but maybe I misinterpreted.
No, I think you didn't misinterpret. We're
Okay.
here to help. So if
Oh, I
there's,
see,
and
just in
if there's,
assistance.
if there's an area that you would like the township to really take over while you concentrated as a committee on a different area, we're open for that. So David, you're right. So we said, we're happy if you want us to, Chris's team to take over a certain section and concentrate on that and we do it, we will do it. And then you can concentrate in some other area. We're here to work with you any way you want us.
Last year at the workday, we did a lot of Band-Aid repairs to get that boardwalk open and functional. But it didn't, it's just an ongoing thing. So I guess that's the question is, do we want another workday with Band-Aid repairs, which will last another year? Or are we at a point where we want to tear out and rebuild? And I think as a volunteer committee, that's probably too much work for us as volunteers. But if the township had the interest and the resources, then that would be great, because that would get us another, 20 years of functional boardwalk without having to dedicate almost all our resources to it every spring on workday.
But you're thinking specifically the area past the new bridge to the,
Yeah, I just know because I was out there on workday with lots of different people last year, and just
It's
all
bad.
kinds of sort of haphazard fixes, just trying to get it functional. We did get it functional in the end, but it's just the way it is now. And I know it's been through another year and closures and winter, but yeah, it's all sort of sadly broken. It just needs a redo. But I just don't know when we're ready for that in terms of resources.
I think your comment, my comment's probably gonna be the same
Maybe,
thing.
if we're to pull it all out and replace it all, what kind of a timeline, like we need a permit, and what kind of timeline?
I believe so. I can connect you directly with Don,
Okay.
and he can
So-
let you know.
Yeah, because it wouldn't be like a workday thing, I don't think, right?
Yeah, because
By the
then
time we get the permit and everything in place.
But we're exploring some options pertaining to some funding. So maybe that is the section that if you'd like to leave that, if you could, that section that we're talking about. And we can report back to you on that and maybe do your workday for the 6 on anything else. And we can come back to you on that section, because if we could get any funding for that, and we could potentially just take that section over and redo it for you, that's probably a better scenario. And then we can check for permitting, we can do all that, but we can report back by the next meeting. But it'll be after, obviously, your May 6th, but
yeah.
here's an opportunity to concentrate on your other items and leave that and we'll report back. Because it is something that's why we threw it out there, because we do think it's a big job.
Mhm.
Both Chris and I went out and we thought it was a really big job.
Yeah.
And it's an unusual year. I mean, the kind of damage that the Argo.
Yeah, so there was-
did, yeah, so.
It was ultimately, you had to dance with it.
To get in to do
So
the
it's
work.
such a beautiful area, right?
Yeah.
And we were trying to get as much snow as we could in there, but we just didn't get it this year.
Okay, what do people think?
As long as the stairs get fixed as well. And I think that's a big job for us.
I think most years we spend a lot of time with mulch and fixing boardwalk on workday. And I don't know if there are other jobs that get left behind as a result, but yeah, it's worth thinking about, the stairs. Is that something that we want to do? And if so, can we get a good number of people on it? And then I'm trying to think of what else would be, if there are other muddy areas or just smaller stretches of boardwalk that could just be nicer or need repairs. I don't know.
So we could concentrate our efforts on the stair. So I think we need sort of the assessment from the township, whether, what's needed. If we need to involve Orca, and if we can get if we do need permission, if we can get that in time. But we could also, we could look at possibility of the stairs for workday, if it's viable. But then concentrate our efforts sort of in between the end of the boardwalk past the floating bridge that we're just talking about being a separate section and a separate sort of work that the township might take over, and the fairgrounds bridge, looking at repairs and boardwalk along that section.
Yeah, sorry, you're suggesting between the floating bridge and the fairgrounds bridge? But not the big long stretch, like
Yeah.
just the little,
Mhm.
yeah. Yeah, because there are other dark damaged areas in there, like where the Beaver Lodge was, it's always, that's another sort of band-aid spot that,
Mhm.
you know, if we were gonna tackle something, it might be good to tackle something relatively small like that. It's still big, but it's not as big as that long stretch.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could probably just think about it and just get in there for another look and be like, oh, actually, you know, if we have the time on work day, we should, this particular piece could do with a repair, or this muddy patch is a problem every year and we should focus on this spot. I think we'll just burn through all our resources on the boardwalk otherwise.
Maybe when you're going out there for work day this time and for the things that aren't, or the things that might be candidates for, because the thing is, when we do get opportunities for these grants, we don't always have a lot of lead time. And so the more informed and complete we can, it might be helpful to, like, just like the photos we're getting of the trees for that significance, if there's specific information about projects that might be exceed the committee's scope of work that the township could be taking over, inventorying that with any specifics, whether it's an image, whether it's a, you know, the history of the repairs. We talked about doing that when we come up with work plans in the future, right? We can almost inventory the projects that we do in a year to see what's been done with that, you know, from an investment from the council standpoint. But also in this case, it would be helpful to say, hey, we think this specific area and this specific project is a bit big for a one-day workday of volunteers, given we can't forecast we're gonna have 100 people and they're all gonna have some trades experience and tools, et cetera, et cetera. It might be helpful to, while you're out there doing that, just to take some inventories and have some thoughts and then share those with staff so that we can have our own things ready to go to see. Because we also don't know what amount of funding might be available. There might be a certain year and a certain program that's like, hey, here's 100 grand, let's go. If we can get our application filled in as fruitfully as possible, or we can always pare it down with things here and there. So it might be worthwhile to take that effort with the photos and, you know, even measuring the estimated spans that some of the boardwalks are in the more sensitive areas are the ones that are like, there's a couple that, you know, we're putting boards on top and I'm not sure there's much more to go into from a board standpoint. So that, like, to me is that's a bigger job to get whatever, if we're even taking the 6x6 that were down there, or the logs that we used, you know, 25 years ago to put the foundations or the runners for the boards on. Are we, like, those are longer stretches that, you know, could probably do in the next 5 years with a significant revamp.
If the township takes over the stretch of boardwalk past the new bridge, do we have any sort of timeline? Like, so you don't even know if funding's available or?
No, I think we were aware of some type of funding right at this moment. That's why we mentioned that to you. So,
Okay.
but Chris and I have tried to get out there probably twice in the last 3 weeks and haven't made it out once. So we need to get out there and take a look at it, but that's why I mentioned it, you know, that if that's a section that needs a lot of work and maybe we're better off to try to get someone to come in there and get that work done for you so you can concentrate on different areas.
No, absolutely. I'm just thinking from like a sort of a logistical perspective. So if the township were to take it over, would you be looking at bringing in machinery? Because then it probably wouldn't make sense to put in new boardwalk in between the fairgrounds and that section to have it potentially trampled over by an Argo type.
Or plant seed.
And it would also involve, if you're ripping that out, that's gonna probably continue the official closure of that trail, which would affect the dedication of the bridge and, you know, all the sort of things that we're also talking about. And there's a lot of intertwined things, right?
Why don't we, is that mine? So why don't we, reach out to you, Robert, after the meeting? We'll try to figure out a day and then we can go ahead and take a look at that.
I think we need to have a look at it.
Like, I think we're talking, because we've been out, we've done this. So that whole section is in bad shape. And I mean, you know, right to when we went to the Beaver area there, like it was not last year, the year before kind of thing. You're right. Like maybe that whole section needs to be a bigger project and try to deal with that. I'm not sure. I think we need to just go ahead and take a look at it again.
Okay.
I don't know what your schedule's like, or maybe someone else could come out with us.
Yeah, I'm happy to. Yeah.
You know, we could maybe set up a time and try to go out there and just take a look, and then we can report back in the next But if you can concentrate, maybe you should concentrate on something else completely, because it's a good point. Like if we've got to get some equipment in there and to really do something to correct it in there, I don't want you to spend time doing something then, and then we have to go in there and,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
someone
Makes
comes in
sense.
and wrecks it, you know, that kind of thing. We don't want to do it twice.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that would then lead me to think, well, then maybe we should concentrate on the stairs for workday. And again, it's not going to depend on how many people we have, et cetera, but we also have to determine whether the stairs are too big of a, like, if that's from a township perspective, that has to be done by you, right? There's permits and stuff too.
We never got permits the last time, but it doesn't mean that we still don't want to check and double check, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
we didn't, the last time we didn't do permits, it was on the hillside, right? So,
Yeah, no, and again, like, there's always a lot to do, but I guess from my perspective, I don't want to have 20 or 30 people shoveling the mulch all workday. Right? Like, you know, we've got the people power, we should make the most use of it.
I will
So-
be honest with you, like, Dawn's fantastic. Like, we could probably give Dawn a quick call. Chris could probably call Dawn tomorrow.
Yeah.
Give him a quick call and ask him about the staircase. He's very familiar, so we can even take him a picture and say, hey, any issues there? He's really good to let us know
Yeah,
very
the
quickly.
stairs are already there.
And they're already there and everything. Yeah, and we've done it before multiple times, actually. So it's just a point of, I don't think it's a permit, but we want to just double check.
That's perfect.
Yes.
Yeah, and I just forwarded the pictures from this morning,
Oh,
same
thanks.
email thread, so it's there to look at.
Oh, good. So honestly, that's excellent. So we'll just send that to Dawn, but right now I think that could be a big project that you guys could concentrate on.
Okay,
On that note, I apologize, I must dash to pick my kids.
but again, we would need
You need gravel over there then, right?
well, and pressure treated. Pressure treated on lumber for the run. Risers. And posts potentially, right? I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible to do, but we need to, you know, we need to have stuff ready to go. We don't wanna go out and buying it on the Saturday morning.
So yeah, if we can figure that out, then we can have staff pick everything up and have it all ready.
Okay,
Is there another area as well, like you mentioned about putting mulch? At the
yeah,
end
there's
of
all, I mean,
Millbrook
but
School?
that's sort of, you know.
You want a work project kind of thing?
Well, not necessarily, but I mean, a lot like, there were more and more, like I know my two kids are coming out, like that's the sort of stuff that the younger kids can do, like in for their high school
Sure.
hours and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And I'd say it's important work, but you know, if we've got, you know, 24 sort of able and willing adults to be able to do heavier type things, then we should utilize that. But if we can, we can. I mean, I'm just
Sure.
saying, you know, I also don't want people to sort of come out and not have a lot for them to do and be bored, because that might affect sort of their intuition to help in next year's, right? Or other projects. So we want to make sure people have things to do, not just busy work, right?
So we'll double check that and we'll get back to you right away.
Okay.
And we can
Yeah.
send out the information to the committee right away.
Okay. Any other thoughts on that then?
There's also like the M&R property, if we wanted to tackle any mud patches out there.
You know, yeah, there's lots to do.
It's ideal when you can start at Mets and work your way out on foot, carrying boards or whatever, versus having to drive people out to the M&R property, but
If we have to, we have to.
yeah,
But I just wanna know, I don't wanna figure it out Saturday morning, right?
right, yeah, which we always do to some degree. Right?
Yeah, but as long as we have, you know, a couple of things on a list, right? Okay, so let's work together on that then in the next few days. Okay, I guess, do we need a motion to have an upset limit for?
If you're doing any
For the
spending for food or for the purchase of tools, yes, the committee would need to do a
Okay,
motion.
so I sort of estimate like in the past, about $250. For, not that we always, you know, need that much, but just to say me.
So an upset limit of 250 for
Yeah.
the food?
Yeah, I'm not selling 250,
Okay.
so that motion, somebody. Seconded by Dave, all in favor? Great, okay. Is there any interest in the tools or something we want to look at a later date?
I think we would follow your guidance there. I think we need drills on workday. And I don't know if we need 6 or 8 of them at any other time of the year.
Well, I mean, people bring their own,
Yeah.
but it's, you don't always want to rely on that, and some of the drills, when one pair of the drills and drivers we have now are sort of what Milwaukee calls first generation. I mean, they work, but they're getting on in age, right?
I mean, if you think that we need more or that some are due for replacement, then I would vote in favor of that. But I don't know otherwise.
Yeah, no, I mean, we'll certainly always make use of them. I think it's a good price. I mean, it's basically 50% off, right? It's 177 instead of 299. It's like 45% off.
Yeah.
And we didn't buy any tool last year.
Do you need someone to make a motion? I can make a motion to purchase those with an upset limit of what, $200?
$200 and 1 cent with tax.
So one set of the.
Yeah, 1 cent.
Okay.
I don't think we need multiple.
Okay, and I'll second it.
All in favor? Okay, great. Okay, any other discussion on workday then? No, great, okay, seating order or a seating order? Meredith really covers that. We'll set up a time tentatively Thursday at 4 p.m. So that's another item that we'll have to work day, obviously, and it's to plant those. But it's
But that
doesn't
placement
require.
of those will be dependent on what we decide about doing board.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah.
okay, I mean, that's a decision you sort of can make the day of, right? But they'll be ready to go. Okay. So no other discussion on seating order? Great. 7.4 trail signage. So Dave sort of mentioned in his Joe report about signage that we may need in terms of identifying trails that are muddy. So I'm saying we have one sign now that says.
Yeah, we have, so. The MR property, the MR doesn't want for us to indicate that the trails are closed at all. Trails don't close on their property, I think is their perspective. And so we have some other signs that indicate that the trails are sensitive to damage and we would appreciate if people stayed off at this time. And so, but we can only find one of those. And the Mountain Bike Club has very similar signs. So we have those, but from the Millbrook Valley Trails, we also had some, and we can only find one. And we probably should put up a few, or at least the ends of the Grand Trunk, the section of Grand Trunk that goes by the stone bridge should be signed. So that's 2 signs that we need. Possibly 2 more if we did
2 more. So you're suggesting 4 signs or?
Yeah.
4 or 5, so that we have enough to do 3 trails. If we needed to.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, actually, I don't know who ordered them the first time, but I can't imagine we only bought one. So
It could have been cheaper. Was that one?
Maybe.
I remember ordering a temporary closure because we were debating the language for.
Well, we've got 2 different kinds of signs. We've got trail closed
Yeah.
signs, which are sort of temporary, almost election type
Yeah,
warning signs that we put on work day. To note that if we're working on a trail, so we don't get, hundreds of people walking through.
Yeah.
And then we got these signs that say, do you have the exact wording?
Yeah, so it's, this trail is sensitive to damage.
Yeah.
We would appreciate if, I don't have the exact word, if you'd stay off until it's firm and dry.
Yeah.
We would appreciate your cooperation. It's something very.
I took a picture, because the one that we found, the one that we have is in my garage.
Yeah.
But I don't think we ever had, we never had dozens of them, I
No.
stretch that much, which we might have had 2, but it was only one, that we can find, as Dave said, but the Millbrook Trails, sorry, the Millbrook Mountain Bike Club just ordered some.
We have the exact same ones, yeah.
Okay, and how much are they each?
We paid $29.99.
And they're from
Maximum size.
Maximum Signs in Pontypool. Okay, so they're the aluminum signs, and they have a QR code on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can design that in terms of
Yeah, we just had ours made and we gave him the club logo and a club QR code and they put it together for us. I didn't give them a completed sign just to print. So I could just contact the same person with a new QR code, which I can generate if I have a link that we want to point people to. And the MBT logo, they'll make them up for us.
Yeah, okay, sorry, here we go.
And we use Maximum, so
Okay.
if Jerry did order them before, they would have the record of that too, but
File, yeah.
yeah, we use them as well.
Okay,
So we've got these signs, stop trail closed. Right?
Mhm.
And then we've got additional signs, so that we can actually, those are signs we can actually like put up on a tree or on a trailhead. Then we also got temporary ones that we got for free from Signorama that are like election type sign.
They say
signs.
trail construction in progress.
Trail construction progress. And then we've got these ones, spring thaw in progress, stop spring thaw in progress. This trail is vulnerable to damage and your cooperation in staying off it until it is firm would be appreciated with the QR code in the Millbrook Valley Trails. So that's what we can find one of, but we're suggesting purchase of 5 more of these signs rather, at a cost of $29 each. Correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So what do people think? It's good. Sounds
Good
good.
idea, yeah.
Okay, do you want to make a motion then?
David, yeah, sure, I'll make that motion. Would you?
To purchase 5 more of the sensitive trail signs for Maxim signs.
Yeah, which should be
Upset.
$145 plus $20 in tax, so an upset limit of $170. Yeah,
Who's gonna do the ordering? Order them.
I can, yeah, it'd be nice if they already have maybe I can ask them, like, would you rather contact them if I give you the information you need?
If you just send us the picture,
Yeah,
if you would like, send us the picture, Robert,
Yeah.
to Carly. And we'll follow up with Maximum if you like.
sure. Yeah, I mean, I think they did it for us originally.
I think they
So
did.
they should have
I'm almost
10.
positive, but we can do that and we can make sure that they have the logo if they don't, but we use them all the time. And actually, we're just ordering more signs right now, so probably Wayne didn't get them ordered today, so.
We just want to check
Check it
that the
out.
QR code still goes
What do
to
you think?
something
Hmm?
legit.
yeah,
It just goes to the Millbrook Valley Trails URL and
Okay.
Kevin Monaghan.
Okay.
But yeah, we can double check that. There you
Is there language on the seasonal closure on the website? I wondered about that as we were talking about this. I don't think we've updated that language. Might be worth doing, especially if the QR code is going to go to that landing page, that we have some sort of paragraph about temporary like sensitivities of the seasonal closures or whatever. verbiage on the website.
On the Millbrook Valley Trail site or our site?
Our site, if the URL is going to our site, it should have the language that speaks to what is being spoken to on the site, probably.
So we would just need to know from the committee what trails are sensitive.
Well, I don't think you need to be that specific. I was just saying that you have
in
like a catch all, you like be aware if you've come, like there are
Like
temporary
just in
closures for
Watch
things
for
that.
these signs,
watch for- yeah,
they are,
Exactly,
yeah.
that's exactly right. But yeah, we're not gonna keep an inventory of like open, closed.
it'll get out of date.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
So for the purchase of an upset limit of $170 for 5 sensitive wording signs, the mover is David D'Agostino. Do I have a seconder?
Kirk.
Kirk, okay, perfect. And then did we do a?
All in favor? Sorry, I've just sent the email to the 4 of you. With the sign.
Matthew.
Yep, you both.
Yeah, I know, I hear counting, I know.
Thank you.
Okay. Great. Thank you very much. Sorry, on the motion of trail signage as well, brochures. So because Kirk's sort of the expert, I don't have Adobe. I've sent the updated brochure wording to Kirk. And then we can have those printed again at Vistaprint. It's how we've had the brochures printed before. We haven't had brochures printed in over a year. We're completely out of them with that.
From our conversation the last time, did you modify the
Yeah,
brochure?
it's with the updated, but so I can't do it because I don't have Adobe on my laptop.
But
So
the
it's-
changes that we had spoken about
Yes.
are made because
Well-
the confusion from the cycling routes and,
Correct.
okay,
So I've sent those to Kirk, who's hopefully gonna kindly make those changes for us. Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So
Just to make
they
everything
reflect
clear. Okay,
Yeah, they reflect the changes we talked about in our meeting.
perfect,
Yeah. a few weeks
perfect.
ago.
Thank you.
So, we are completely out of brochures. And although we don't have, as discussed previously, all of our brochure holders, we still have a lot of brochure holders. And I can sort of make temporary ones depending on what we want to do with, plastics. Or if we want to come up with something different, but I think, we're probably past the start of the season where people are sort of coming out more and more on the trails and we probably need those brochures. So I think we need some more printed. Generally, we spend about $350 to $450, depending on the amount.
Through you, Chair, we do have a motion that was approved from the past two meetings that there was an upset limit approved for $500 for printing up the new brochures.
Yes,
So-
I was gonna mention that, but I was just gonna verify that that's still in.
Yep, absolutely, it's
Fine.
outstanding, and we are
Yeah.
reflecting it in the minutes going forward so that the committee knows that's still.
Okay, great. So we don't need a new motion then. I just want to make sure. Okay, so once we get that work done, I will order them and we should have them out. Printed. They're pretty quick. They get delivered right to your door. Okay, excellent. Any other questions on trail signage or anything?
I was gonna show some of the club signage that we're
Sure.
gonna get. So we had someone make individual trail head signage for us. So this would be one. Yeah, I'm waiting to scroll backwards. This is one of our trails that's up near the top of Meadow. We used to have a lot of poison ivy on it. Anyway, if you can see that.
That's excellent.
Yeah, so it was meant to be high, so it's 11 by 18, highly visual.
Really
the trail
nice.
name. The distance, this is the universal trail difficulty convention, so green circle, blue, it's blue square, yeah, blue square, black diamond. And this is the general sort of profile of the trail. And then this is apparently the elevation change of the trail. So we're trying to provide a little bit more information. And then just the club logo rides well in both directions. The odd trail doesn't ride very well as an uphill and is more fun as a downhill. I mean, downhills are almost always more fun, but so we've tried to indicate that. Most of them we just say rides well in both directions. QR code to point to where the trail is on trail forks. And then, so we have someone's laid them out for all of our trails, which mistakenly included gaining transit, but we won't print that. But I wanted to get the committee's just sort of feedback on this design, and since this will be on the M&R property, which our users all share, obviously I'm okay with it, but just want to present it to the committee first, and also say that if the Millbrook Valley Trails ever want to come up with similar signage, that I'm sure this person will be happy to help. to
They do
round
a
out-
nice
round out the
job.
property. Yeah,
Really
yeah.
nice. Like I love it.
Yeah.
What's the black mean? Does that mean black?
So black is
Like
our,
its color mean like a
Yes.
different, okay,
yeah, so green is easy, blue is moderate.
and black is difficult.
Hard.
Oh,
or
just
yeah,
like sort of skiing.
totally
okay.
like skiing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you could have double blacks too, but I don't think we have any double blacks.
Oh, that's excellent.
Yeah.
So the new one is called not the one that's.
Oh, the new- yeah, the kids
It's
one.
like when you drifter and.
Yeah, and
then
Milli
the
Vanilli.
Milli Vanilli.
Oh my gosh.
I think Drifter is the uphill trail, the easier uphill trail, and then Milli Vanilli is our beginner / kids loop, which will be off the rail bed, so.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
This will be the size of them?
This will be the size, yeah, they seem huge, but 11 by 18 is what we've done for the trail closed and the
Yeah.
the
Mhm.
sensitive trail signs, so.
Especially with people that have visual issues or anything like that. It's nice that they're that big.
Yeah,
Mhm.
there's no trouble reading it. And I think the QR code, he did big, so you can stand back here and actually pick it up with your phone.
Absolutely.
You don't have to get off your
Absolutely. You
bike.
don't have to.
Yeah, I can just stand.
So is the blue, the green, blue, black standard for hiking trails as well?
I don't know about that, actually. So this guidance comes from IMBA, which is the International Mountain Biking Association, so this is their guidance, and then for each difficulty level, they have criteria of what makes a trail blue and what makes a trail green or black, but it doesn't refer to hiking. And I bet hiking has its own, but if we wanted to, my thinking with, if the Millbrook Valley Trails Committee wanted to do or if we wanted to do something similar for the mountain bike portions of our trails, and we may want to apply a similar convention, but it wouldn't necessarily capture the difficulty as a hiker.
Right, yeah, no, that's really good. I think would there be possibility to do sort of a hybrid type of something or yeah, or hiking and mountain bike or just something. Okay.
So I guess the only thing is if there was any immediate feedback on, you know, we don't like this, or we don't want to see this, or it sounds like everyone's generally happy with it. And then maybe the next steps could be, you know, just knowing that this is a possibility for what our future signage could be like, and we can tie in with this down the road. If we please, but I just wanted to make sure I presented that to you before. We have it sent to the M&R right now for approval, and so I wanted to make sure I ran it by this committee before we printed anything.
The only thing I was thinking of, Dave, and like this is morbid, but welcome to my life, is in the event of an emergency. If these signs are gonna be out in sort of remote areas, it might be helpful to have like you know, I'm thinking of fire numbers, you know, there's a numbered sign to reference. I'm this far north of this sign, or, you know, 100 meters north of this sign, that's signed, got some sort of signal or identifying whether it's enumeration or something. I don't want to, like, it's great. I'm just thinking of, it might be helpful if I'm having if something's going on, I'm gonna tell you I'm in the M&R properties if I didn't know that much. So, you know, given certain people's, you know, explorative nature, but it just might be helpful, just a thought. I don't know if there's anything that makes sense, but that's the only thing that came to mind, is if it's gonna be in a sort of remote area, it just gives someone an extra piece of data to say.
Like a GPS coordinate,
Something like that.
Latitude.
Or even if it was a component of the QR code as well, that you can just like, do you want to get to the site, or do you want to go to do you need your locations?
You know, it might be a good option, Dave, that will be easier to convey. I don't know if anyone's familiar with what 3 words.
Oh, yeah, right.
Oh, that's what
I haven't
Ken
used that, I've
asking,
heard
is
about it a
it?
lot.
They did mention.
And so for each sign, then it would just be customized for
Okay.
what the 3 words are for that particular location. Because that's just something, you know, rather than a list of latitude, longitude, it's the same info, but
Yeah.
No, that's a good point.
Is there a site that generates the 3 words?
what
for
3
you?
words?
Oh, okay.
What- Yeah,
And it's like a tiny URL or something, they just generate it based on.
So basically, every square meter of the planet now has a unique combination of just 3 words. So you just say those 3 words, and basically it only
The
maps
pinpoint.
to that
Mhm.
one place.
Hmm.
So it's simple and elegant, and just but very sort of user friendly. And I know for sure that certainly, you know, like reading a while ago last summer, I think there was a guy that got rescued up on the Slosh Mountains up in Killarney, and they found him because he was off trail through what 3 words. So it's something that certainly
Okay.
emergency services aren't familiar with broadly. I don't know
Yeah.
specifically about around here, but
Okay.
I'd be surprised if they're not aware of it at the very least.
All right. Yeah, I'll bring
you
that back
mentioned
to you.
Ganaraska's doing it too, right?
Yeah.
Ganaraska's doing it, yeah.
And so
I
do
forgot.
you have, is there a what 3 words app that you
Yeah.
can find yourself?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so what 3 words? I don't know.
So you have
if
3 words for words.
Oh, yeah, that should be. So, right now we are pretty needed chill.
Pretty needed shit. Amazing.
And if I move over there, it'd be a different, completely different 3 words.
It's a council meeting, doesn't it?
Pretty needed shit.
It's only this square meter right here.
Just Kirk. Okay. So
Yeah, and the good thing, I mean, about the app as well, as like I said, I don't have data, it's only using satellite locations, so you, I
So that
mean,
works out there.
yeah, so
Yeah,
it
it
would
works
work.
out
Well, some places in the Ghanny it wouldn't work. There's no cell reception. Oh, no. Yeah, it's good with you.
If the GPS is on, right?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
You can even do those on a smaller sign, like just beside or underneath it too.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've done that on some of our signs. If there's something afterwards that needs to be communicated, we'll do it on a separate one,
Yeah,
depending on how you're mounting them.
okay, thanks. That's good feedback. I'll take it back to the board.
Yeah, that's neat.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Great. Any other questions on trail signage? Okay, moving on quickly to bridge commemoration 7.5. So I think we probably need to sort of figure out, you know, what we're doing with the trail and workday and all that sort of stuff. I just have a question for the township. There's been no communication thus far in terms of the donation received to the donor yet about the new bridge or anything like that.
To the donor, to,
The Cowan Foundation.
Yeah, to the Cowan Foundation.
oh, no,
No,
no.
okay, so we haven't
sorry.
said anything out yet.
No,
Okay,
no.
all right. And the township's in agreement that we leave that maybe until we sort of figure this all out. So I don't really want to commemorate a bridge and close the trail for 3 minutes. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so we have to do it
Agreement
under
with that?
bed down, right?
Great, okay.
Yeah, but that's no problem.
7.6, the 2023 work plan. I suggest we hold that off until our next meeting because it's gonna
We
be
have to do it.
determinant on what we discuss with the township in terms of what our priorities are gonna be and what we're gonna tackle and the township's gonna tackle. Agreement? Yes, okay, and 7.7 items for next meeting. I would say one would be off the top of my head, we get a work day recap. Because we'll have our work day, whether it's on the 6th or the 13th by then, what we've accomplished, what's still left to do. Also, will we be able to discuss potential wood orders then? Do you know when Hope Mill is open? Are they gonna be in June or are they gonna be?
I don't know, but I can find it for you.
I could talk to Ken as well. Is Ken still running this year?
I don't know.
Okay, I haven't talked to Ken in a couple of years.
Yeah.
But we have made the decision that we probably do need to order some wood this year because we haven't done it in a couple of years, more than a couple of years actually. And yeah, we will, and it's always good to have, and we're running a bit low. So I would say wood order, workday recap, anything else anybody wants to add at this point?
Recap of the trail, not the trail, the master plan discussion.
Yeah, we'll have already submitted our thing by then, right? Because the meeting's May 29th.
Oh, yeah, that's right, sorry.
Yeah.
What about trailhead signage for Ned and the old school?
Yeah, okay. Let's go. When we're on, but we should have a bit better idea, maybe we might do next
Yeah.
month.
At some point before the summer, I should probably do something in the way of a report back to us as a user group from the Ganaraska Regional.
Yes.
Okay,
We
great.
only meet 4 times a year, so, you know, if there's something acute. But, and I'll also need some direction from the township as to what other user groups I should be reporting back to. Because there are many other user groups that are now interested in using our trails who also might likely be interested in using Ganaraska. Anybody else you think that I should be communicating with regularly as the township rep to that group?
Did you have a meeting with them already? Okay.
Yeah, a Zoom meeting. It was well attended. I'll speak to a little later though. There are some groups that I was surprised didn't have a rep there.
Okay.
And Maureen, when is your next meeting? Do you know?
I do know. Yeah, I'll find it for you here.
It would be 2 or 3 months from now.
Yeah. I'll tell you later.
And is the township aware of any presentations for our next meeting? Like has the 7 peaks or whatever it's called come back?
So I updated our work plan just to reflect what did I say? that we are working on coordinate, and maybe I'm thinking of our minutes, I apologize, that we're coordinating the user groups right now. So we did receive the schedules from MBT and now also the Peterborough group. So we're gonna work with our booking system to coordinate those, and likely it could probably come back to the next meeting,
Okay,
But we haven't heard anything from them.
but nothing from the 5 peaks.
5 weeks, okay, all right. Any other items to add for the next meeting then? Okay, if you got the list I mentioned there, Carly, but we don't need a motion to accept those. Okay. Anything else? We have a motion for adjournment. Dave, seconded by Kirk, all in favor? All right, thank you very much. Reminder about the master plan. We'll send out information regarding the meeting on the 15th. And obviously, we'll get some information out about the workday on the 6th. So tell your friends and family, whoever can help. Does count towards high school hours. I'd be happy to sign those forms. And we'll get the information and posters out and the email distribution list out. Okay, thanks so much, everybody.